I gotta try to quit saying the word you know?
Yeah.
I gotta quit saying the word I said so many times in my lecture in Vegas that the lecture was an hour long, but the video clip after editing the out of it so much, only was 6 minutes long. This is not a about me story. This is a story that says, hey, why did this have to happen to me? And all people, this could happen to somebody else. It scares me because if this happened to me, this happened to you, a loved one, a neighbor, somebody that you care about. I believe in accountability. What happened to me, I owned up to everything. I shouldn't have got behind that wheel in a squad car, intoxicated. At the same token, other precautions and other measures should have been implemented. At June of last year, I think it was June 14th, I believe around 3:45 a.m., dispatched that there was a male black in an unmarked vehicle on the corner of State and Midwest, and he was unresponsive and unconscious. Officers responded with lights and sirens, thinking that this individual was harmed or shot or something happened to him. When the officer knocked on the window, he recognized it was me, said, "Hey, Jenkins, my nickname, you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay." I rolled down the window. He said, "Where were you going?" I said, "To Krieger Park." He said, "What were you going to Krieger Park for this late at night?" And I looked at the officer and I said, "He's going to kill himself." Right next to my passenger seat, I had the loaded .357 Magnum. I had written a note to my wife. Little did the officer know, and little did I know at that time, the morning of going back, I had suffered some back pains. So severe that I literally had tears in my eyes. The pain was so bad. I gotta try to quit saying the word you know?
Yeah.
I gotta quit saying the word I said so many times in my lecture in Vegas that the lecture was an hour long, but the video clip after editing the out of it so much, only was 6 minutes long. This is not a about me story. This is a story that says, hey, why did this have to happen to me? And all people, this could happen to somebody else. It scares me because if this happened to me, this happened to you, a loved one, a neighbor, somebody that you care about. I believe in accountability. What happened to me, I owned up to everything. I shouldn't have got behind that wheel in a squad car, intoxicated. At the same token, other precautions and other measures should have been implemented. At June of last year, I think it was June 14th, I believe around 3:45 a.m., dispatched that there was a male black in an unmarked vehicle on the corner of State and Midwest, and he was unresponsive and unconscious. Officers responded with lights and sirens, thinking that this individual was harmed or shot or something happened to him. When the officer knocked on the window, he recognized it was me, said, "Hey, Jenkins, my nickname, you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay." I rolled down the window. He said, "Where were you going?" I said, "To Krieger Park." He said, "What were you going to Krieger Park for this late at night?" And I looked at the officer and I said, "He's going to kill himself." Right next to my passenger seat, I had the loaded .357 Magnum. I had written a note to my wife. Little did the officer know, and little did I know at that time, the morning of going back, I had suffered some back pains. So severe that I literally had tears in my eyes. The pain was so bad. So I went and took more medication. I took more painkillers, and I drank another half glass of vodka. And so nothing was happening, so I said, okay, it's not working. So I loaded up my .357, put it in my man pouch, my bag, loaded it up. And I was so high and so lit, I literally thought two things. First of all, one, I'm glad nobody got hurt. Two, I thought I was in my personal vehicle. I was so high, I literally can still to this day vision myself pressing the button to my Jag on the sunroof, but I was in my squad car. And I literally thought I was in my personal vehicle. After which, the officers gave me a breath test, and I'm the type of person that own up to things. I'm a 22-year veteran on the department. My dad I was always a yes man, not the malcontent, never dogging out the department, never criticizing command. When you ask me a question or you give me an order, I just say yes and I do it. And that's how I was. That's the type of person I was. When they handcuffed me, these officers were apologizing, and I said, don't apologize, you're doing your job. I didn't once ask to be let go. I didn't ask, let it slide or look the other way. I knew what was coming and I handled it, and I stood tall and I took it to the chin. When I'm in jail, they book me. I go to this thing that's called B90. It's where you go and when they get probable cause to make an arrest, they use a handheld breathalyzer. But to solidify it, they use an electronic one, more accurate. So I blew into that, and I was still over the legal limit. They informed me that I was going to be under arrest, and I owned up to it. And they asked me at that time, had I taken anything, and they took my shirt off and lifted it. They seen this bandage here and 3 bandages in the back, and I told them I took some painkillers. Again, I said, I want to die. I don't want to be here. I want to die. I even told them, I said, when I get released from here, I'll never forget, I was in a fetal position there in front of all those officers just crying. Just in a fetal position, just didn't want to live anymore. And for thinking that I was the worst father in the world. Fort Wayne Police has a program, it's called Crisis Intervention Team, CIT officer. I'm a CIT officer, and this is where the PTSD kicks in. These officers who broke bread with me, who know my family, know my brother, know me for years, left me in solitary confinement in a cell by myself. I'm not asking to let me go, but there were procedures. Me writing that letter to my wife, at that point right there was a cry for help. I didn't want to tell my wife, want to kill myself, because I had that stigma that I'm a man, I'm a black man don't kill themselves. So, but I'm giving you hints, baby. I'm giving you hints that I want to hurt myself and I'm not feeling good. I'm begging for help, and she didn't get it. I cried out for help at the scene, at the traffic stop, at the jail, and they just left me there. Our policy states, Fort Wayne Police Department policy states that if you come across an individual who's suffering from psychiatric illness or mental illness, and it's a criminal investigation, and it's a misdemeanor, the arresting offense is a misdemeanor, you don't arrest them. You take them to Parkview Behavioral, you take them to St. Joe, you take them to Park Center, and you get them help. You get them psychiatric help. I didn't know that until months later. Me being the guru of police psychology, I didn't even know that. And when I found that, the paranoia even kicked in more. Because I'm thinking to myself, whoa, wait a minute. This happened to me, and I was supposed to get this kind of treatment? I'm thinking to myself, while I'm sitting in this cell, all I can remember, I can still see it as fresh as it is today. I'm not going to say their names, but I can see them just walking by, saying, take care, Jenks, keep your head up, take care. And they just left. And I'm like, that's my family. I'm at the county jail. That was my family. Those were the people that I fought with and got into vehicle pursuits with and did investigations with. That was my family, and they left me there. And at that time, what I was feeling at that time just intensified, because they just left me. And I'm like, what's going on? Why are you leaving me like this? And I couldn't talk about that for a long time. It's been a year. I was supposed to go back to work about 3 months. I was supposed to go back to work October last year, because I only had a 30-day suspension for the driving. I was scared. I was suffering through paranoia. I live, I don't know if you know, police officers, they get their gas at BP gas stations. I lived down the street from the BP gas station. I wouldn't go to that station. I'd go somewhere else, because I didn't want to see another officer. I was freaking out. In my mind, they were going to put me back in that cell again and leave me again. And I know the fear was irrational, but to me it was rational. After they left, I knew it was over. I had nothing to live for. Outfit they had me in. And then I'm in solitary confinement. I try to hang myself in my cell. I can remember the jail personnel coming in, shutting the door to the personal bathroom that I had, and taking the robe away, and I'm just laying on the floor. And and so I'm there for like 12 hours in that cell. I don't know how many people have backgrounds in psychology, but it doesn't matter if you're there for 12 days, 12 months. You don't put somebody in solitary confinement who suffer from mental illness. I'm there for 12 hours. Again, I'm not criticizing them, but you don't call my dad, you don't call my brother who you know, you don't call my wife. And my wife didn't know anything had happened until the next afternoon when I was transported to Parkview Behavioral for a 72-hour, which ended up being a 5-day stay. I knew I needed help. I wanted help. I didn't say I knew I needed help. I said, I don't want to go to PBH. Send me to Park Center or St. Joe, anywhere. Judge Avery already signed the papers. You got to go. So I'm there for 5 days, and literally every day I woke up, first thing I would do is go and ask her something to put me to sleep. Every day that I woke up, I asked to go to sleep. Because I didn't want to be there. I didn't want their help. I didn't want anything from that facility because I was fighting it. Yeah, I wanted help, but I knew I wasn't going to get that help there. And I stand by that today. It's so funny that, come to find out, a friend of mine, and I said, yeah, I just got an $1,800 bill from PBH. Come to find out, the city has a contract with PBH, and the city was supposed to pay that bill, not me. That's where the paranoia continues. Here we go again. Why is it doing that? See, this is what I get for getting a notebook during the Ferguson riots. Okay. Anyway. Humble and just remorseful about it, but as I sat back and looked at it, I'm like, you know what? Everything I did on my end to handle it, I did correctly. I stood up in court. I didn't ask for any leniency in court. I didn't ask for any time reduction. When it came time for me to get my 30-day suspension, I could have went to the Board of Public Safety. I could have went to the chief and said, hey, chief, look at my jacket. My jacket is clean. You didn't have anything. In 22 years, nothing. And this happens. I could have went and I wanted to own up to it. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm owning up to all this. I'm admitting to all this. I stood tall on this. Why aren't they doing the same thing? When I tell the individual, I got a copy of the police report. It took me a year to get a copy of the police report. And miraculously, there's always two sides to the story. Being a homicide detective, being a cop, period, 90% of the time you hear lies. You know how fast you were going? No. How many beers you had? Just a couple. Things like that. You hear those things. So people would say, okay, there's another side to the story. I read every officer's report, and no matter how they wrote it up and how it was written, you can't justify what happened. I should have gotten help. I should have gotten psychiatric attention. I should have been taken to a facility that moment. I was always a yes man. I never played the race card in 22 years, never did any of that. But then talking to other veterans and officers coming to me, hey, you know what happened to such and such to PDH? And he was allowed to sign himself in voluntarily for a 24-hour commitment. We had another officer, and these are all recent too. When they didn't believe him and they kept talking to him, finally he said the key words, I think I feel like hurting myself. They let him go, check yourself in.